Hello, everybody. Today we are talking about the temporal lobes. So, just some questions for you. Do you have a short fuse? Do you have panic or anxiety for no reason at all? Or do you feel like you're on the slow boil all the time and the rage builds up and then you explode? So these questions relate to the temporal lobe, right? And the temporal lobes are involved with our emotional regulation, understanding and processing language, with memory, reading social cues, rhythm, and music. And when the temporal lobes get damaged, which quite often happens when people have a brain injury, a knock to the head, and also in what Dr. Amen sees in the progression of Alzheimer's, is that there can be damage to these parts of the brain. And what I'd like to reinforce here is that if you have a mental health issue, right? If these feelings are causing a mental health issue, it is a brain health issue. And this is where studying the work of Dr. Amen has been fundamental for me and my clients in actually shifting the stigma around mental health, because it's a part of your brain that needs help. And it's not that you're crazy, right? There's actually something going on. So I'm just going to share a little PowerPoint with you so that you can start to understand why you may be boiling the rabbit on a regular basis. So if we look at Dr. Amen's SPECT scans, and the SPECT scans are measuring blood flow and activity, we see the healthy brain here, and it's nice and smooth. And they've found that people that have healthy brains are generally happier. Okay. A healthy brain equals healthy mental health, which is actually brain health. And then we look at the unhealthy brain, and you see it looks like Swiss cheese, this one, right? There's holes in places. And this is what Dr. Amen has seen with people that are presenting with mental health issues. They're actually brain health issues because there are pockets here that just aren't getting blood flow. And people are sadder, make poorer decisions, sicker, poorer, less successful. And then we turn around and we go angry for the temporal lobes. If we look at your brain, there are different parts, but today we're actually going to talk about the temporal lobe. So these are the symptoms, people, if you are or if you have issues with the temporal lobe. So you may be experiencing rage attacks, or you're just angry, right? You're angry all the time. You may have periods of spaciness or confusion. You may have periods of panic and fear for no reason. Sometimes, with the temporal lobe being damaged, you may have visual and auditory changes. So you might be seeing things or hearing things. This is where we see a lot of schizophrenic people. Quite often, Dr. Amen has seen that there are damage in the temporal lobes. You might get frequent deja vu. You may have memory problems, as we see in temporal Alzheimer's, reading comprehension problems. So they've found that a lot of dyslexics or people that have issues with reading, there's something going on in the temporal lobe as well. So it's really worth looking at how you can help it. And then mild paranoia as well. So if we have a look at what Dr. Amen suggests for the temporal lobes, well, the really interesting thing is that epilepsy also sits at the temporal lobes, and what they know nutritionally works for people with epilepsy. The majority of the time is a ketogenic diet, right? So again, we're coming back to the factor of looking at the sugar in your diet, reducing the sugar, reducing the processed carbohydrates. That's one thing that can really help. The other thing that Dr. Amen has found is rhythmic movement. So dancing, trying to find something where you start getting some cross body movement happening. That's another thing that can help. Listening to music. And in clinical studies, Mozart has been found to be very, very therapeutic for the brain. but binaural beats, something that can actually calm the brain down. Probably not heavy metal if you have an anger problem. And then the other thing that they've found to be really effective is humming. Okay, humming and toning. Now, this in particular for the temporal lobes, but for the brain, actually stimulates what's called the vagus nerve. And your vagus nerve ties into a number of organs in the body, and humming activates it. Okay, so when I had my concussion, I used to sit with my headphones on, right? And my noise cancelling headphones on in a dark cupboard where there was no light and hum. And it was amazing how calm it made me feel, because during my concussion, my temper was, yeah, a little bit wild. So the humming actually really, really helped. And it's something I do when I go to the supermarket as well. The lights and all the people tend to, it makes me a little bit jumpy, a little bit, get out of my way. I want my broccoli. So the humming really, really helps. And looking at anger management as a whole, if you can really tap into your breathing. So these are just some little tips for the temporal lobe. If you need help, then just reach out. The work of Dr. Amen has been fundamental for me in changing the stigma and how we actually think about mental health. Because quite often when we get a label, we feel that that's us, right? We feel that that's us for the rest of our life. And we feel that we're always going to be angry or we're always going to be depressed or anxious. There are actually strategies that can help you. So have a great day. Don't boil the bunny just yet. Maybe try some humming, some deep breathing. Look at the sugar in your diet. There are strategies that can help you.